What's up guys? As the title suggests, in this video I'm going to be going over one tip for each survivor in Rain 2. As of October 2021, there are 11 main survivors in the game. These tips will either be lesser known things about a survivor's ability or general optimizations that you can use to better your runs. Starting us off, much like the game itself, we have Commando. If you're like me, you probably stopped playing much Commando after you unlocked some of the other survivors with cooler kits. After revisiting the survivor, I've come to really enjoy playing him, and if you aren't using this tip, it's very likely the reason that you think he may be weaker than some of the other survivors. The tip for Commando is to stay up close and personal with your enemies. Commando's kit suffers from very noticeable range fall off when you're outside of 30 meters from your target. As the run gets later, and you're worried about getting absolutely obliterated by a strong monster, it's really easy to want to back off and play a bit safer, but this will actually hurt you in the long run for most cases, because you won't be able to take down as many enemies as quickly, allowing them to stack up and things to get really chaotic. So give Commando another shot and make sure you're staying up close and personal. Keep your DPS as high as you can. Alright, we're going in no particular order here, so next up I've got a tip for Artificer. The best tip for Artificer is don't play Artificer. Alright, next up we've got... Nah, just kidding. I may not like Artificer much, but the title would be a lie if I didn't attempt to give a tip for them. I'm not all that experienced with this survivor, so the best tip I have for them is that you can actually charge your Nano Bomb and Nano Spear while sprinting. To do this, all you have to do is start the windup and then reactivate your sprinting while continuing to charge the ability, as you see here in the clips. This is very useful because I'm sure you know, the faster you move, the less likely you are to be hit by the enemies. So good luck if you choose to play Artificer. Hopefully you can make some use out of this. Oh, Capitan, my Capitan. Captain's kit is somewhat simple, which definitely doesn't mean that it's bad. It just makes it a little bit harder to find a lesser known tip to share. You may have noticed that Captain's primary fire has a lot of knockback on it. The trick is utilizing the knockback on his primary to launch smaller enemies like wisps into the ground, getting massive damage numbers, just obliterating your enemies. I find this so satisfying to do. It makes elite jellyfish and wisps feel like eggs that you can splat onto the ground. It's awesome. Speaking of the ground, that's a great option for dealing with close range jellies that are sneaking up on you. Like you can see here in the clip, jumping and shooting them downwards into the ground, it's just super effective. My tip for multi has to do with his auto nail gun. It's pretty well known that when you stop shooting the auto nail gun, it shoots a little burst of bullets. When playing this survivor, you should try to optimize your DPS by making use of this little shotgun effect. The tip is that using any of Multi's abilities while shooting the nail gun will actually cancel the firing without shooting the burst. For the best results when playing Multi, you should attempt to stop your shooting just before you use any of his abilities, say his stun or anything really, just so that you don't miss out on that burst of damage. Now on to the new guy in town, Bandit. Similar to Artificer, I don't have that much experience with Bandit. By far the most fun part of his kit, in my opinion, is using his revolver to reset your cooldowns. I mean, it's kind of essential to his kit, so yep. This in combination with his stealth is the premise of my tip for Bandit. You may know that Bandit's stealth gives a vertical boost when it's activated, almost like a second jump. But using any of Bandit's abilities while stealth, including his primary fire, will give you the same boosts, almost like if you're combining it with your regular jump, essentially a triple jump. Well, what does this mean? If you have a bunch of weak enemies on the ground, you can jump, stealth, revolver to break the stealth, giving you another boost, then hit your skill shot with the revolver, then you can immediately stealth again, and continue this process forever if you have enemies to kill. This takes some practice, and I'm not so sure how practical it is, but it's fun, and this is my video, so I'm putting it in here. Next up is Loader. While trying to come up with a tip for Loader, I found out this interesting optimization that mitigates one of the more annoying side effects of Loader's kit. That is that using Loader's Thunder Gauntlet rebounds you off of the enemies, leaving you flying through the air and not really able to do anything other than wait for your Loader to hit the ground. The tip is to make use of Thunder Slam right after hitting an enemy with Thunder Gauntlet, your punch, to stop you from flying away and keep you right in the action. If you're lucky, this will even help you clear out some of the guys below, maybe the boss. Usually on Vagrants and stuff, a lot of ground enemies will stack up while you're trying to kill the boss, and slamming down, if you're lucky, you'll hit some of them. Moving on now to Huntress. Huntress has a pretty simple kit, which also made it hard to find a tip for her. I tried keeping these tips item independent, but this tip kind of breaks that rule simply because I couldn't think of anything else. Huntress's glaive is undisputably the best ability in her kit. The glaive damage actually increases with each bounce, which means that the later hits can actually do enough damage to proc your ice and fire bands. The tip is to attempt to strategically throw your glaive so that the later bounces hit high priority targets, making better use of your bands. This isn't exactly easy to accomplish though, due to the somewhat random nature of where the glaive will bounce next. You should be trying to throw your glaive at an enemy that is 4 to 5 enemies chained away from the actual target that you want to proc your bands on. My tip for Rex is really more of a breakdown of how you can use his special to help you in your runs. There aren't really many forms of hard crowd control in the game, like Artificer's ice abilities that can freeze the enemies, but Rex's special offers us a root. Roots essentially just hold enemies still, but interestingly enough, once Rex's vines have attached to somebody and rooted them, even if they leave the radius, they still can't move. Because Rex's primary fire is a burst of projectiles, it can be kind of annoying to hit quick enemies like imps. Imps can still teleport while they're rooted, but they will be stuck in place after the teleport finishes, which leaves them as sitting ducks for your primary. The root can even lock down a bighorn bison while it's using its charge attack. Most importantly though, this ability works on Providence's salty brother himself. That's right, Rex's special makes Mithrix no more threatening than a traffic cone. Using this will allow you to absolutely unload into Mithrix, and by the time he's free from the root, all you really have to do is use your utility to boop him away from you while your root comes back off a cooldown, which is really quick, it's like a few seconds. There you go, Mithrix is a piece of cake. Now for Mercenary. Mercenary's kit and damage output as a whole revolves around his ability to inflict the Expose debuff. Expose is applied by hitting an enemy with your third attack in your primary attack chain. My tip is that this third hit is actually way bigger than you probably know. The swing is even capable of hitting enemies behind you. You can try to time using your blinks right as the third swing is going off and hit enemies with Expose while you're dashing. Doing this is also really fun because it gives the gameplay a somewhat rhythmic feel, because you're like 1, 2, dash, 1, 2, dash. It's fun. Next up, we got my favorite, my baby. It's Engie. This is going to be a double tip because it feels criminal not to mention that you can sprint while charging Engineer's primary fire. You do this the same way you can sprint while charging Artificer's nano abilities. That's not going to be my main tip though, because I feel like it's too similar to the one from Artificer. So my tip for Engie is that you can actually place his turrets on top of the teleporter prong thingies, whatever these are. This will keep both of them safe from any melee enemies that aren't tall enough to reach them, say beetles, beetle guards, and it's really useful especially on the earlier stages. Using this strategy, you can throw your shield right at the center of the teleporter where you activate it to just barely cover them both up, but you gotta keep in mind that if you're fighting a wandering vagrant, their barrage attack actually has a little bit of an AoE splash to its projectiles, which can actually hit through the edge of your shield if something's too close to it. If you do get a vagrant, however, you can throw your shield at the tip of the teleporter pronger things to have safer coverage, a little more complete surrounding of your turrets. Last but not least is everybody's favorite purple dino, Acrid. Let me start by defending myself for getting absolutely obliterated by the Beetle Queen in this clip. I was solely trying to show off this tip and it led to me getting shotgunned. Twice. Anyways, the tip for Acrid is that you can cancel his primary animation right after the damage comes out by sprinting. If you get the timing down on this, you can attack really rapidly, and this only gets better with attack speed. This is a give and take, however, because it's hard to do any dodging when focusing on timing this primary cancel. So try with caution, or you may end up like our poor boy Acrid in this clip. So there you have it. One tip for every survivor in Risk of Rain 2. Thank you guys so much for watching this far. If you want to see more Risk of Rain 2 content, then, subscribe, hit the dingleberry, all that good stuff. Yeah, and I'll see you in the next video.